Hi, today's lesson is just another quick one on that, really, what I just played, on the fast bit from Sultans Of Swing. There's probably other fast bits in that solo, but that's the bit that everyone wants to learn. That's the coolest bit, probably. Now, I won't go on too much about the theory behind it, but just briefly, just to say that what he's doing in theory isn't very complicated. He's playing the notes of a chord. There's three chords that you're playing over: D minor, B flat, C. And he's playing the notes of those chords, which are arpeggios. So, like, these are the notes of a D minor chord. Not necessarily in the order you'd normally find them, but they are the notes that make up a D minor. These are the notes of a B flat. These are the notes of a C. So he's just playing the chord notes, which Mark Knopfler does loads in his playing, and it's so effective. And that's why it works so well. Plus it's fast and it sounds impressive. So the way it starts is like this. You've got to cover the 10th fret, first and second strings with your first finger. Really needs to be that finger for this. And start off with little finger, or you could use third. I'm using my little finger. I think little finger is probably easier. On the 13, which is an F, on the first string. And then you could do this with a pick. This is one of the Knopfler things that will work pretty much as well with a pick as with fingers, but I'm using my fingers anyway. And he obviously used his fingers for this. So you've got to play that 13 on the first string, pull off to the 10 on the first string, and then play the second string, which is also 10, and then play the first string 10 again, picking the strings 3 times but getting 4 notes. And you notice my first finger's not really moving, just stays there. Okay, now we do 4 of those. So it's and there's no kind of rhythm to that, it's just constant notes. Boom, 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 boom. And then the chord changes. That was D minor, so now we change to a B flat. So what it does here is the same pull off from the 13 to the 10, but instead of having a 10 on the second string, it's now got to be an 11. So B flat and D minor share 2 of the same notes. There's only one note that's different between them, even though they look totally different. So now we've got this shape. So instead of that, it's now this. Now I'm keeping this one here. I could leave it over 2 strings, which is probably a bit easier, or I could move it across for the second chord, move it across just to there, like this. Doesn't really matter which one you do. It sounds exactly the same. So do whichever's easier. Experiment with both. Leave that one there for when you do the second shape, and then try also just moving it across. So the second one, the difference is instead of doing 4 of these, we only do 3. And then on the end of that, you add the first note, the 13, you add that again just once. So that first sequence was 4 of these. The second one is 3 of these. Plus this note. Okay, and then we slide this whole shape along 2 frets, so it's now going to be a C, because if you think about a B flat chord going up 2, it's going to be a C chord, the same thing moved up 2. And so that's this shape. So now we've got 15 on the first string, 12 on the first string, and 13 on the second string. And before we do this one, you play the second string and 13 and the first string 12, like this. And then we go into the pull off thing. Exactly the same pattern that we did on the other 2. This. But this one starts with, so it starts with those 2 notes before you go into the pattern. And when you do the pattern, you do 7 of these. So there was 4 of the first one, 3 plus 1 note on the second one, and then this one you've got the 2 notes at the beginning, and then you've got 7 lots plus one note like we did on the B flat. So on the end of the 7 you just play this note. So I'll just play the sequence once you've moved to here. It's this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus that note. Now at this speed, it's not that slow, but it still seemed like too many because it's so fast the way he actually played it originally. But it is that number, so 7 of those plus that note. And then it kind of repeats, but not exactly. You've got to move back down to where we started with this one covering the 2 10s. And we do the pattern again, but this time you start it with the 2nd string and then the 1st string before you go into the sequence, like we did up here. So it's, and then 4 of these again. And the second pattern is exactly the same as before. 3 of these plus 1 note. Third pattern, kind of the same as before. You move up like we did before, play the 2nd, then the 1st. And then here, instead of doing 7 of them, followed by just a single note, what he actually does is he does 8 of them, 8 complete sets of notes, 8 of these, with a little twist to it, which is probably accidental, I should think. When you listen carefully, on the 8th one, because of sort of preparing to do the next part of the solo, on the last one, he doesn't actually do this. He misses off the last note, and also he plays that note, the 12, rather than the 13. Now, when you do this and you do it slowly, it just sounds wrong. I'll show you what I mean. If I play like the last couple of standard ones followed by that one, but you listen carefully to it and you'll hear what I mean. He does do that, and that leads into like a bend that comes next. But it's very quick, so you don't really notice it unless you're listening for it. And that's the whole of this fast bit from Sultans of Swing. So I'm just going to put it into 2 halves and play them in time but slower than the original song. So the first half is second half. Okay, and that's the whole thing. I'll put it up to speed again, both together. Okay, and that's it. So it is pretty quick, but it might take a little bit of practice to get the speed. But really good. Like virtually every note I've ever heard Mark Knopfler do, it's just a classic thing that's well worth learning. Any questions about that, please put them in the comments. Please click like if you like this one, and please click subscribe as well if you haven't already done so, and suggest any other things you want to see lessons on. Yeah, that might be another fast Mark Knopfler run or whatever. Okay, thanks.